What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations 20. Oh, you know what? Actually, I got to do something totally new, and we're going to be doing this for the first time, and the ladies are going to do this. You want to find out for the first time. I usually say I'm the 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Ta-da!
Congratulations!
That's 2018. That's 2018.
Very nice.
Well, last night I got this.
Yes.
So now, as of
That's
last
so
night,
awesome.
and now
congratulations, 2020.
2020 award winner in podcasting news, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. So I thought no better time than with the two ladies. This is the first broadcast. I'm going to be promoting it. So they're there, and I'm just going to bring them on because you can hear them in the background. So here we go. Here we go. And I also host monthly conversations for fathers and dads, sponsored by Dad Central Canada's National Fatherhood Organization and Dove Men Care. And if you haven't been around, and if you have been around, and there are already people in the room, this is loving it. This is Aisha K. Staggers and Jill D. Jones laying down Staggers State of Things, where they give knowledge bombs about mainly what's going on social and political in that country they call America. And they haven't been on for a little bit. I guess they need a break. And plus, I full disclosure, Aisha has just been, this is the first day she's been out of bed in a few days. So, so we are there. And Black Beauty is in the room, and Deborah Jackman is in the room. Oh, wow. Deborah Jackman, long time. Haven't spoken with you. Well, I spoke with you last week for a bit, but long time since you've been here. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Ladies, what's going on? Your country's still together?
Barely.
Our country's holding on. Joy Reid needs to put some cream in her hair. Rudy Giuliani needs to do something about them leaky edges. That's how I feel.
Oh my! You already started with that.
What happened?
Oh, Joy Reid is great. Joy Reid is excellent. But I'm just noticing that her hair's a little dry today.
It's hard. It's hard to keep up. I could barely do my own hair today. And the news is coming so fast. It's like,
but that's the point. You do your own hair, I do mine. She has a stylist.
Okay, well, I can't really relate to the hair challenges. So, all right, let's groove. So our first conversation topic tonight. And I told the ladies a while back to watch out for this, but they didn't listen to me. Will the American presidential election be overturned?
No.
And the reason I say no is because the truth of the matter is that we have a Republican Party. It's not even a Republican Party. We have a Republican mess that is just, they have not figured out how to spank this man baby. And the problem is that they are, when you have a spoiled child and you keep spoiling it, it becomes a spoiled teenager. And then the spoiled teenager grows up to be a spoiled adult. This is what we're dealing with right now. And they are tiptoeing. Have you ever seen a parent tiptoe around their own child? This is what's happening. They're tiptoeing around him so as not to hurt his fragile feelings. He knows he is not going to win. He's been on social media, on Twitter, shouting, "I won the election." Bitch, you didn't. He knows he hasn't. He knows he has no way. From 232, there's no way he can get to 270. And even with the recounts, the law, the Constitution is clear. The first person to get to 270 wins. He was not first, period. Even with the recounts. Michigan did a recount. Georgia did their recount. Georgia read their recount results today. So what does he want? And let's be truthful. Not only did Trump disenfranchise black voters in Michigan, the real truth that he only went after the black voters wasn't just because he wanted to go after black voters. He couldn't afford to go after anybody else because he was supposed to, by 5 o'clock yesterday, pay almost $8 million to get a full recount. He only coughed up $3 million.
Right.
So do I think that this will be overturned? No, but I think the Republican Party at this point needs to spank the baby. He's getting out of hand. It's been more than 3 weeks. We've done this. He had his time to lick himself and lick his wounds. Now we're at crisis time because people are dying. Okay, this disease has gotten out of hand. Now we've got business to take care of. Toss him aside and let's get to business. Period.
For me, I would say that I think there's a couple of things going on with the Republicans. Mainly, they're very concerned about Georgia. Georgia is really key because I really hope that everybody who's out there listening, if you have family and friends and anyone in Georgia, a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend who has someone in Georgia, it is imperative that they get registered and that they vote. Because you're looking at a couple of scenarios, and Trump will try to hang on to this. I mean, worst case scenario, we lose the House, we're going to have a presidency just with complete havoc of them trying to impeach Biden and Harris. They'll spend and they'll do exactly what was done to Trump. And if that happened, and then them having the Senate and the House, in my opinion, they've shown who they are. They would move to the next level and it would be done. And then the speaker would get appointed and then it would just be what would happen. This is very, very important that people vote and understand. And going on the strength of knowing that our racist president, a racist. Now, they are trying to disenfranchise black voters by going into Michigan and those different areas with the GSA, Emily, whatever her, I call her Ilsa Koch, the witch of Buchenwald. She might as well be, because those people who are complicit should face full. She knows what she's doing. She should be held responsible. She's breaking the law. But I go back to Black people and people of color, knowing that we are with an administration that seeks to send us backwards, because you start letting people take your vote away, you're going to have a lot of things taken away from you. This is so imperative that we throw these people to the curb. And I mean, all Republicans. At this point, it's like it can't even be a question. Yeah, they might be fine and friendly and you can have dinner with a few of them. But in your heart, when you go home, you got to vote them out, because they've proven. And what else the Republicans who remain silent in their complicitness is that so few of them are willing to speak up for Black people and people of color in this. We have seen many, many people. What was beautiful with the Detroit situation, so many white people in Wayne County came forward, and they really, of all colors, all races, creeds, everything, they were not having it. But the reality is that it's really right now about culling the weakest of the fray. And people, if you're looking for heroes, you'll find very few. People will only join the hero side when the hero looks like he's winning. It's lonely to be the group that's trying really hard to make things right for a bunch of people, particularly when people vote against their own interests. But it is a fact that they are going after every county and all the counties in all the states that had Black voters and people of color. They want to take that away. Trump is angry. He's furious. His little games with the rappers didn't work. I guess he didn't think we all go around, following these young rappers or whatever his deal is, because 50 Cent came out the other day and said that he was offered $500,000 to just say that he was supporting Trump, and he would have gotten another $1 million had he agreed to show up for an inauguration. So this thing was sort of, everything is being done as if you're booking a concert. So with that being said, with the electorates and the electoral people, the problem that we have is there will probably be a few who will get up to no good. I mean, we did see that with the Palmer woman and the gentleman. I pasted their faces all over social media amongst many other people. And that's probably, everyone is like, oh, they're bullied, they're scared or whatever. Donald Trump has been bullying people since the day he got here. I have gained 20 pounds since he's been in office. And on the strength of that, he can go. My cortisol levels are off the hook. And I want him gone. And Rudy Giuliani, it's like what he's doing is that the courts keep pushing back. There's nothing, no piece of anything that they have there that has actually is moving forward. And they withdrew one of their lawsuits against Michigan yesterday. But then old Goosey Giuliani comes out and has to say that he's, outraged. It's all theater. It's all shenanigans. And it really, I just don't know where the threshold of everybody to just get over this. The main thing is Mitch McConnell and all of those people, they're being silent because they're worried about Georgia. And I think we should really give them something to worry about Georgia. I mean, I want them to be crying because if we get that power, we can put all of them in jail. And that's why this is important. It's not just a vote, just, whatever. We will be able to put these people to jail. Don't you think it's worth it? So we have to really get everybody we know to vote in Georgia and volunteer. If you're at home, there are many phone banks going on. Join one. Join one and have those conversations with people because you might be the very person who can make a difference. People get a little lax during these types of votes and lazy, and they don't think their stuff counts. We've got to make sure for once holding these people accountable and holding all of these ridiculous gray men their feet to the fire.
Okay. Black Booty says, Jill, you're on point, and the Republicans will use COVID-19 and stimulus as a way to refuse to join the nation together. It's literally as though the U.S. is two separate nations.
True.
But you know what, though? I would be okay with that. And I say this because as far as I'm concerned, give those people Mississippi. They want Florida, give them Florida. Cut out their little space. Let them go have their COVID parties and that a little fraction. I never thought I would want to see people secede from this country, but and I've said this on Twitter before, like I said about GSA Emily, the woman who's supposed to certify the transition, but throw out the whole human. With a lot of these people, they cannot be redeemed. I feel that way about Trump's supporters. It's like, why is it that after Joe Biden was, it was like, okay, Joe Biden is the presumptive winner. Now, all you Democrats, go extend olive branches to Trump supporters and make them feel welcome. What? Make friends with racists? Are you serious? Why would I do that? Why are you asking me to do that? You should never ask victims of racism to go out and make their oppressors feel comfortable. What world are we living in? Where do people do that? That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So as far as I'm concerned, I would be okay with us having, splitting the United States into two separate places, because apparently that's what these people want. But here we are one country. We've got to figure out how to pull this together, because it's not going to work. And the only way it works is when we are not a divided government. So I think the thing is
we've got to quit that. We're never going to be united unless we sent people like, I don't know, David Atkinson had something on his tweets about he wasn't saying this would work, but re-education camps. And I'm all for re-education camps. Some people would call them like concentration camps, but I'm sorry. What do you do with 75 million illiterate, brainwashed people who are completely the disinformation campaign from another foreign country that's been playing in their ears for the last 20 years? I mean, this was Putin's long game. And fortunately, maybe for him, he won't live to see, he's seeing the beginning of it, but maybe by God's grace, he won't be living much longer to see what utter disaster he's put in place if the rumors are true about him. But we won't be. But maybe the other thing is there will be some kind of like the Reconstruction era. You're right. On a certain level, after the Civil War, we had to do all sorts of reconstruction. And I think that states that cannot take care of themselves properly should not rely on the bigger states to support them. I don't think California should support them. I don't think any of our money should go there unless it's who we decide and they make agreements with us. If they are beneath us and they need something, then you pay to the piper. Isn't that what this was all about? I mean, there are good people there, but why should we help Mississippi or Alabama or Kentucky anymore? Why should California keep paying for people? I don't want my state tax dollars to go there.
Well, think about it. The blue states and the red states.
And I'll be honest, if they keep messing with these votes, then we don't pay taxes. That's just as simple as that.
Well, think about it. The blue states and red states. Trump constantly talks about the blue states and red states, not wanting to give money to the blue states. The blue states are the ones that save the red states. The blue states pay the most. The blue states pay the most in taxes.
We do, but they won't know until they're sitting there licking a spoon for an extra hour, and it ain't got nothing on it. Sorry.
Exactly.
It's just like they should have not the same that we have. We are busting our butts out here in California, whether they think about Hollywood or not, but Hollywood supports you. So if you all don't like it, stop buying it. Don't do this, don't do that. That's one of our biggest exports. California is its own country, essentially. But I'll be damned if I'm definitely very vocal in my community and in the next types of things when COVID gets released and everybody's moving. I do not like that structure anymore. No. And we're waiting on federal money that now Trump won't give out to the blue states for their unemployment. The hell with them. The hell with them. Then they get nothing during this time. And like you said, spank the kids. This is it. Okay, kids, sorry. There's no more free ride. Go ask Mitch McConnell for the money to feed you this month, because he sure has a damn much of it.
And here's the thing we also have to remember. Like I said, we are a government that does not function, and we can't function this country with a divided government. It doesn't work. No work gets done because you run into a point. Oftentimes it's on the Republican side where they try, if in a divided government, to stymie everything. So suppose we do not win the Senate. It's going to be 2 years of just Republicans refusing, Mitch McConnell refusing to do anything until 2022, when some of those Senate seats come up again and the Democrats have yet another chance to take over the Senate. And at that time, you also have to hope that they hold the House.
Exactly.
So it becomes that kind of push and pull. If indeed Democrats win Georgia, you're going to see come January 6th works. You're going to see the gears start to turn in Washington. You're going to see things start to get done, not just by executive order, because executive order, those things aren't permanent. They get erased as soon as the next administration comes in. What do you think Donald Trump spent his entire 4 years doing? Erasing everything Barack Obama did by executive order, because Barack Obama was in a divided government from his third year to the end of his 8th year. He had 2 years, and in that 2 years, it took him to get the ACA.
You're absolutely right. And I think that when we hear people going on about Obama's record, They need to go stuff it now, because we are actually seeing the BS he went through.
Yeah.
He protected us a little bit from what was happening, because if it would have been me, I'd have been out saying, you know what these MFs are doing? I think that there's something that if I hear another white person even dare to criticize or critique anything he did, and he bombed other people or whatever, I mean, it's kind of like, really? Let's not even go there, because here's the craziest thing. We don't even know to what degree that Trump, the damage he's doing, even internationally. I was speaking to someone the other day who thought that maybe his foreign policy, he hasn't been doing, so much damage or whatever. But here's the reality. He has been doing a lot of damage. And what he did to the Kurds, in my opinion, is unforgivable. I will never get over that. I think that was a big misstep. And for me, it was his way of showing that he will sell out anybody, and to be selling arms to the Saudis and to Dubai or the Emirates. For me, that is how many people have been slaughtered with our guns, our bullets in Yemen? How many children? That's on our heads. We're doing that. Whether there's a broker in between or whatever, that is from America. And that's Trump. Trump doesn't care. He's an evil, despicable creature. He is a creature. And he is hanging on like in a bad horror movie. And it's awful. It's just, it's like Freddy Krueger. You're just like, oh no, I thought the movie was
afraid
over.
to go to sleep. Afraid to go to sleep, right? And that's why we can't.
Krueger,
you're right. He is Freddy Krueger. That's why we're all afraid to go to sleep, right? Because we have a nightmare. But think about this. What you just said made a lot of sense, Jill. Barack Obama protected us from a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. That's why we all could sleep at night. Okay.
Yeah.
We don't know the full reason why, because we don't have the intelligence. We don't know what he knew at the time to why all those bombs went out. We don't know what the potential danger to the region or to us was. We don't know the deals that he had to make because he did not tell us. Why? Because it was classified information. It wasn't for us to know. It was for us to sleep well at night. Trump, on the other hand, every freaking day with this, I might bomb Iran.
Yeah.
What? For what?
Exactly. For what? I was like, what did they do? They haven't done anything.
Just because he wants to cause chaos and make sure that Joe Biden's first term isn't successful so that he can ensure that he will get reelected in 2024. This is the kind of mess we're dealing with this guy.
Right.
This guy is not, it's more than he's not wrapped too tight. He is evil. He is of the devil. And I say this because you could tell the people around him are just as evil. And I tweeted this today. Somebody's like, what's that stuff coming out with Rudy sweating? It's like, is that hair dye? I'm like, no, that is a devil coming out of Rudy, because even the devil said, this is too evil for me.
It's so true. It's so true. But here's the craziest thing of all is that what I was speaking to another friend the other day who we were talking about how you go for like meetings with people and you get along and you hit it off right away and you're like going, wow, or especially if it's somebody you're looking to hire services from and they're overly friendly and they start giving you stories and it's ha ha ha, he. I don't trust those situations. I don't anymore, because when people get a little too friendly with me, I'm like, at the beginning, and I'm supposed to hire them and they start mirroring me, because that's a very wonderful art of mirroring because you could see how I speak and then you start mirroring my stories and then it could become familiar. What's really crazy is that Trump does that. But what's more frightening is what doesn't he say? Because he runs his mouth so much, you actually have to sit back and go, what doesn't he say? Because he says a damn lot. But this is the problem. This spaghetti on the wall stuff, let me see what happens. I think the courts are really having some, I feel really bad for some of them because I don't
Mhm.
think that everybody's really horrible. I think they're trying to do their job. But if Donald Trump has the balls to call a regular citizen at her home, the electorate woman, he called both of them. That's frightening. That is scary. That's like me and you doing a show and he calls. What the hell? Where are we going with this? This is it's disturbing because it's like he gets into everybody's thing. He does not know what to do with privileged information. He doesn't know. He reminds me of a friend that I had who was working at Homeland Security and was using all of his time to track down his ex-girlfriends and see who their boyfriends were. Yeah.
Okay,
And he had security clearance.
And
just
one
before
more thing, Dr. Vibe.
Yeah.
When you asked this question initially, the thing of it is will, what Trump is trying to do essentially is get the electors to change their vote. That's ultimately what he's trying to do by calling them individually and trying to get them to come visit him in the White House. He's trying to get them that when they have their meeting in December to change their vote and vote for him.
Okay. Well, let's catch up with some comments because you ladies have been on fire. As usual, Black Beauty says, are we a nation divided? Yes, we are, unfortunately. And frankly, I don't know if we will unite due to all this disunity. Christy White, a lady who was part of a panel discussion I hosted today in celebration of International Men's Day, which it is today on November 19th. Sounds like the same thought about Indigenous people. Black Beauty. And right now, via 45, the world now sees how divided America is. And I can't imagine the world will just forget having seen our dirty laundry, the racism, the COVID out of control. And continuing, Aisha's right. Sadly, she's right. It's shameful, truly shameful. 45 has exposed our shame. And then we also have here, I know, Jill, it's stressful, shameful, and the world knows that we're a nation in trouble. Daily stressful nightmare.
Well, Biden said that today. Biden said it's Donald Trump is showing, unfortunately, who we are. And we're really trying to say, like, once he saw that, as, the comment mentioned about the indigenous people, I would almost bet money that gave him life, more energy to come even harder. Because remember, everything was rolling. Michigan looked like okay, but he came back with this like real horrible vengeance. I mean, he got blocked out of Arizona, messing with Arizona like that. They shut it down. There was no way to go in there and cite because the gap was just too big. And that made Donald Trump mad. And it was another group of people of color. And he hit the roof. And these are the frightening things that he is tearing asunder. People in this country who support him, who have, mixed grandchildren, mixed children, all of it. It's like people are the fear of this one having more, this one having less. I don't understand how people think that, yeah, you can vote with your wallet, but a country can have its wonderful abundance and do so well, but at the core of it cannot be money. It has to be a stronger foundation, because if money is your foundation, you will lose all moral touch with any base, with what the spirit of this world is. And we're in a very karmic cycle. I just really feel in my heart, based upon spirit, that spirit is not going to let us down with Donald Trump. It is just the natives, the land. It's too important. And I'm so happy if Biden puts this woman overseeing the land. She's an indigenous woman. And for me, she's the perfect person for it. But spirit will not let us down on this. We have to, although, learn how to fight the battle. And we can't stop. It is important for all of our brothers and sisters of all colors, because he's coming for us. And this is just one step. And we keep going, oh, it's all right. No, it's like, no. There is somebody coming across the horizon, and they've got a machete, You are not going to sit there and wait until they're 50 yards away from you to determine that you're in danger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to lead into another conversation topic. And everyone, thank you for the comments. They are coming in fast and furious. And the ladies love that. Let's talk about sedition.
Well, that's where all this is going. I mean, it's like the lies that he's telling about this only serve to anger his base. You know, these people who don't get their news or facts from anywhere except for OAN, Newsmax. They don't even watch Fox anymore. Parlor.
Now, okay, let's hold on. Let's stop right there. That has been an interesting phenomenon over the last few weeks, because seeing some of 45 supporters, not one of them a cat right there, who are we have a new guest. We have a new special guest.
Hi, Ash.
Ashley.
But seeing 45 supporters saying boycott Fox News and now going to these other news sources, that's a whole other thing now.
Right.
But this is all because remember what we talked about the night of was it the night of 2 weeks ago, when they had Fox News had called Arizona for Trump, and the votes, and nobody else did. Right. And they had asked Fox News to take it down, and Fox said no. And Rupert Murdoch was like, no, I'm not doing that. And so that's where their beef with Fox originated.
Now, let me just correct. You mean they called it for Biden? Are you saying not?
They called it for Biden. They called Arizona for Biden. And Jared Kushner called Rupert Murdoch, and they were like, no, we're not doing that.
Right.
Nobody else had even called Arizona. But
because the analyst knew the numbers, he knew the regions, and he's really an expert on some of those things. And to be honest with you, I think Fox knew he was going to lose while they were doing the broadcasting. I honestly think that they knew, because that guy in particular, he's pretty ace. Like, Trump's night was just, it's very hard for him to believe that we hate him. I mean, but that's what's so worrisome, that this is somebody who doesn't even take critique in. What is worrisome is that this is like a king who would go, well, who were the 78 million who didn't like me? Then go kill them all. That's because he cannot even process it in a vote. That it's like, he's so thin-skinned, and I can't tell you, every day it just takes so much in me to try to be a better person, because I'm mortified by some of my thoughts about him. Mortified, shocked of what he's driven me to.
It's so funny that he can't believe that Joe Biden got almost 80 million people to vote for him. What I can't believe is that 70 some odd million people voted for Trump. That's what I can't believe. I can't get over that part. But but Trump out here on these other things, and all his fan base on Parler and all this other stuff. But he says things to incite. Notice the man has all but abandoned his job. Okay, his job right now is just to incite people to rally his base and to anger them. Okay, that is why he incentivized them to have that million MAGA march that they had last weekend. I thought it was milligram MAGA, because that's more like 1,000, and it had like in thousands, because they had like no more than 12,000 people, not a million. But they got like people riled up, and notice they had violence at that one, right? There was violence there. But the thing that really, really gets me is that he says these bloviated things on Twitter, like, I won the election, voter fraud, not real, this and that, liberate this, liberate that, fight up against this. And then he has the guy, who is it? The doctor guy who's now his lead doctor, telling people to rise up.
Atlas.
Yeah, about COVID. So he encourages that kind of speech from all the people around him to really just incite. And it goes back to what he said during the debates when he told the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by. He does this because it makes him feel good, not because he sees that there are obvious. I think he knows that there are obvious repercussions from it, but also too because it makes him feel good. It would make him feel good for people to fight a war on his behalf. It really would.
Okay.
I mean, but you're looking at, what they have been doing is mobilizing. You look, they have Sydney, what's her name? Sydney Fellows or Sydney.
Yeah.
And she's with Giuliani, and they're undermining the United States government, voting.
Yeah.
Our democracy. They are doing that. And then the guy who's doing the filings in Georgia, Lynn Wood, he's got like 500,000 people following him right now. There's also this mixtured component with social media that starts to happen with some of these old fools and what they start to feel. But, they're going after Cobb County in Georgia. There's a lot that's happening. And I think they got another resurgence of life for a minute. These filings are going to get kicked out, but it doesn't matter because they're still at the same simultaneously trying to incite people out in the street, because that's the one thing that really hasn't happened. That was the one thing he thought he could count on. You see, I believe that he thought everybody would be up in arms. Well, they're either too sick, too broke, or I don't know, or just there's only a handful of real certifiable dudes out there who are not really like a militia or really going to do much because they can barely go into a Black neighborhood. They're so afraid of stuff or making up stuff. So, we have a really serious situation with just undermining the votes. And, and also with social media. You mentioned Parler and all those places. Barack Obama said something about them the other day, which I can only paraphrase, but essentially they have been going on calling themselves the equivalent of phone companies. So they don't have the same regulations and they are full on media companies. These are not phone companies. Twitter is not phone, and they're all regulated under those types of things because we use them on our phone. However, the content that's coming out, these are media companies, and they need to have regulations. I've been speaking about this for over a year. They need regulations because we have a very sick group of people in our country, 75 million to be precise, who it will take decades. I don't even know if we'll be alive or our children will be alive to see what state this country will be in, because I really do believe that they're just done. They're done. They're down for the count, and they will never be the same.
I'm gonna go ahead. One more thing, Aisha. We're gonna move on.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, think about Trump was waiting for blood to run in the streets. He was waiting for uprisings the moment that it was declared that Joe Biden won. What didn't happen was that Joe Biden didn't win that night. It took some time for things to happen. So there was he was waiting for, so there was like kind of like a delayed reaction. One, but two, the people didn't rise up the way that he thought because they are just as big cowards as he is.
They are, but quickly, what they're doing though, they will try to make their maneuvers behind the scenes in their jobs, etc. That's where they are cowards, and that's how they'll do it.
Or run for office.
Jim Crow. Days of Jim Crow are back.
So Christy White says that scares me more than any of it, the amount that voted for him. And
True.
then as we move on now, let me just pick up here saying Galen, the president of the Jill Jones fan club, saying at some point he will become a threat to our security as a lame duck.
Absolutely. He already is.
All right. So let's move on to our next conversation. It's keeping in the same sort of string that the American government transition that is not happening. It's not going anywhere. What up with that?
Well, Joe Biden shouldn't have to seek alternative routes to try and put together his transition. We're lucky that it's only been 4 years since he was in the White House. So there are certain protocols that he already knows. Okay. So there aren't unfamiliar to him. He's bringing a chief of staff with him that was his chief of staff before. So he knows the pretty much the layout of the White House, how things go. He doesn't need on the job training. And so that puts him at an advantage. But there's so much in terms of intelligence, and thankfully, Kamala gets intelligence briefings from being on the Intelligence Committee. But there's still so much that he needs to know that it's putting our security as a country at risk, because what they said was with 9/11, the 37 days that we did not have that transition period, while they were counting the votes and it was going to the Supreme Court to decide who was going to win, whether it be Bush or Gore. That 37 days is where that lapse was, where they didn't get the information they needed to thwart the 9/11 plot. Then once you go beyond that, there's also, he needs to talk to the experts when it comes to how they're going to manage the COVID response. All the people who are in there, how they're going to hand it off, because they already have plans as it is. They need handoff of everything. They need to know so that things are seamless. And basically, one of the reasons that Trump is doing this has nothing to do with him thinking that he's going to get back into office. It has everything to do with the fact that he does not want to let Joe Biden be successful in this role, because he got beat, because everything that he did in that office, Joe Biden will undo. 1. 2, everything that Donald Trump did to undo the legacy of Barack Obama, Joe Biden's going to restore. And who does Donald Trump hate more than Joe Biden right now? It's
Right.
Barack Obama. And so there are a lot of things that are going to fall by the wayside, that are going to make people here less safe, less healthy. And it's just all around, he's having a temper tantrum, and the American people are going to pay for it. They're estimating, that about 100,000 people will die between now and January 20th, not getting the information. With Joe Biden not getting the information, Joe Biden's smart in that he's putting his team together and putting his advisory board together of some of the top people and top specialists in all of these areas, so that he's not hit, blindsided. But what Trump's doing is, he's not a man who is country above himself.
No, not at all.
He's always putting himself first.
But what's crazy with Emily Murphy, who is the GSA head, there was a report on ABC News that she's been looking for a new job. And she sent her inquiries to a few people who turned the information over to ABC. And of course, reporters reached out to try to find out if if this is normal. They're like, it's normal for any employee to look for a different kind of job or whatever. But we all know either she's going to sign it or B, she's going to just quit. And that still doesn't solve anything, because that just means she's going to leave it there, because this is a coward. And I'm going to keep calling her the equivalent. She's the reincarnation of Ilsa Koch. And as far as I'm the Witch of Buchenwald, she's going to default and leave that on the table so that Trump can put somebody in that position. Although that person has to be sworn in and the whole thing, and we will see if that process happens. But there has got to be a better way. I likened our Constitution to saying the other day that my Charmin toilet paper is worth more at the moment, because you can't tell me that there's no way to fix this. And you can't tell me that with the senators, there's no checks and balances. This is awful. They're running amok. And I honestly, I think it's great, those of you who voted for Trump, but you really didn't do it so well when you voted for all the same senators, because you dumb heads still didn't get it into your head that the Republicans are all in it. And Mitch McConnell is still a Russian asset too. Since 2015, we've been dealing with his merciless, cruel, just horrible persona since even before that. But, it's like, come on. This is not even about parties. It's about good and evil. End of story. I just can't get over it. I honestly can't believe they voted Lindsey Graham back in, or Mitch McConnell, or any of them, because they didn't want to vote down. No, I'm sorry. So, as far as I'm concerned, and this woman is looking for a job. Anybody who hires her, I don't want anything to do with wherever she goes.
So the president of the Jill Jones fan club says, I'm joining late. Have you already discussed how 45 is firing people holding critical positions in his administration?
With Chris Krebs.
He's firing the people who are actually doing their jobs. He wants people who are going to be loyal to him, not to the country. It's like right. Chris Krebs, the moment that Chris Krebs said that that this was the safest election in American history.
No voter fraud.
No voter fraud. He was gone, because that went against Trump's argument that the premise of what he was going to argue for, his argument in the courts that he should be deemed president, that it was voter fraud. And actually, when it comes down to it, that was just a piss poor argument. He would have been better off trying to argue the fact that, like the Twinkie defense or something, is like the reason that all the Democrats voted, or something like that, or like saying that, COVID was a problem. I just, it really just boggles the mind as to why he thought he was going to be able to win this argument, and why he thought he was going to be able to send Rudy Giuliani to the court to fight this argument with no evidence, and why Rudy Giuliani thought that he could go in these courts with no evidence. None.
Because they let him make a mockery out of the courts, and they should tell him and kick him out of the court like real people, real judges do in real life. When you present a brief or your filing is all jacked up, I have seen judges literally go, what is this? And you're out. You get maybe like 3 minutes. There is a problem putting people in jail for perjury here. Throw them in jail. I don't care if it's for an hour a day or just a minute. If you lie on there, if you lie, your ass needs to go, and it doesn't need to be federal jail either. Stop with the cushy jails.
Yeah, really. Rudy Giuliani went into a court, and the judge said, well, what do you want me to use to make a judgment on this? And
he's a terrible attorney.
And he said to the judge, the normal stuff that you use.
Exactly.
The judge said, what do you want me to use to make a judgment? Rudy said, the normal stuff that you use to make judgment. He said, no, evidence. and
Okay.
Rudy had none. Sorry.
All right, so let's move forward here. We've got some comments to catch up on. Black Beauty saying, "My country is sitting on the precipice of destruction from within," and 45 continues to delight with his base and fellow like-minded Republicans. Trust and believe everything you're hearing is true. Also saying, "Yes, Jill Linwood is new to the 45 team. They're like a machine, hell bent on undermining our democracy as well as our nation."
Because here's the thing, can I just say something? Even in corporations, when I worked and, when you do RFPs, you try to see if there's conflict of interest. Even if you're bidding on a job with the government, there's conflict of interest, there's this, there's that, you change your team, you do whatever. This presidency doesn't even operate like a freaking Toys R Us. It doesn't even have any building blocks at all.
That's a tweetable. That's a tweetable. Let's continue on with the comments and catch up here. Jeremy Gloss says this, quote, "lack of transition," unquote, is so mind-boggling.
It is.
The president of JJ Club, JJ Club, saying just announced via Wall Street Journal, Joe Biden holds lead in Georgia after hand recount.
Yeah, of course. He's going to continue to hold it.
And then Black Beauty saying, and Trump 45's refusal to release federal funds to governors of our states, and 45 operates like a third world dictator, calling out governors on Twitter with threats such as Governor Cuomo.
He's always after him.
45 told New York City governor the state could go get the vaccine. Yes,
they won't get it.
And let me just catch up here. 45 used Twitter to tell that New Yorkers won't get the upcoming vaccine for COVID-19. 45 is a horrible man. Horrible. Then we've got president saying we can do anything, quote, we, quote, want, unquote, to do. The question is, what do we want as a country? And here we go. Yeah, McConnell's on 45 team and Lindsey Graham. Oh, MOMG, they're like roaches, like these 45 loyalists. And then we're finally caught up here. Sean needs to bring back his, I'm not going to say what's on the screen here, T-shirts. I thought I'm sure Jill would say that. No problem at all.
I probably would say this. But I also think that it would be very, very naive of us to think that Mitch McConnell wasn't connected to the Russians a lot longer than Trump or somewhere.
If Biden gets sworn in, and hear me, people, I'm saying if, because I'm not fully convinced yet, that Mitch McConnell will be the most powerful man in America.
Oh,
he may be, but
if the Senate, if they don't flip the Senate,
right? So
let's move on. Only if they don't flip the Senate. If they're
not going to flip the Senate, because once we get what we need to get, do you know how many Senate positions we are going to throw those people in jail? There will be indictment. So everybody who's an American, get your litigious hat on and get your soldier up, because the reality is I want to see them walking and being led out of their offices. Like I said, this is still, a game.
Well, the first person is going to be charging to put people in jail. Let's see if Aisha, there's a lady you mentioned a long time ago.
Fisk James.
You notice you're not hearing anything from her right now.
But hang on, even I had a debate the other day. Well, I was wondering, everyone was saying, doesn't Trump want to try to pardon himself and all of this stuff?
Yeah.
But see, the reality is, I kept saying, well, he hasn't been indicted of anything, but let's not forget that when Nixon left, he got whatever his name was, who took his place, to pardon him of every crime that happened while he was president. So it was a blanket. And before.
Okay, but here's my question to both of you, because again, I don't live in America.
But
Letitia James
she's not filing criminal charges.
Yes.
He's got civil charges against him that come with jail time.
Right.
So
and that's the difference.
So that's the difference. So he can pardon.
I know
criminal charges.
because the first if she gets an opportunity, the first person I'm calling is Aisha K. Staggers, because I know she's gonna have a party in her apartment if that happens. She's gonna
my girl's just laying in the cut, waiting with her subpoenas. She sits there fanning herself every night with those subpoenas, watching TV.
I think the horror
12:05 on January 20th.
The horror is going to be,
that's wrong.
We already have like stupid parents online upset that the teachers are telling their kids that Biden won, and parents are calling teachers upset. But we have a situation like even going further with people going to law school. This is quite a case to study about how you shouldn't be an attorney, because Rudy Giuliani is the worst. Everybody was saying to me, Giuliani brought down the mob. Well, he brought them down because he was the mob. He was in it, and he just was a snitch. He was a snitch.
But not only that, Rudy Giuliani hasn't practiced law in almost 30 years.
He was a snitch, and he was a snitch, and he snitched on everybody else. And that's how he brought him down. And he's never had to pay that back.
Okay. So again, the president of the JJ fan club, I'm taking odds on whether 45 will feed the country.
No,
he won't.
I don't think so.
12:01 in 0 seconds. Tish James with her subpoena. He won't have time.
Honestly, men like that are not comfortable any other places. They're kind of creatures of habit. And what's really interesting, Trump has spent more money like golfing and doing these domestic rallies and stuff than any of our presidents, who actually took Air Force One to conduct business in countries like, with summits and their foreign policy. We have a president that doesn't like to do that. I think he's been to Europe maybe
366 days playing golf.
Yeah, but here's the question. Count that up against how much he's really gone abroad. Not like our other leaders. Mm-hmm. He doesn't do any work, guys. He does nothing.
Okay.
So, he's making a really bad case for why he needs another term. For someone who needs who wants to be president again and wants a second term, for the last 18 days and the last 12 of the 18 days, he's had nothing on his schedule, his public schedule, like no work whatsoever. His work has been tweeting.
I know,
and trying to get reelected. It's
the whole time.
It's funny.
And
how are you asking
about somebody?
Right. That's like it's like me asking for a promotion for a job that I just didn't do. It's like, you work for someone and you want a promotion to directorship. It's like, but you didn't do your work in your coordinator position. It's like.
So Black Beauty has a question for both you ladies. Do you think 45 will be present for the swearing?
No, and if anybody takes to the streets, it's going to be us, because I don't think his people have it in them.
Okay.
I do know that our progressives and our young kids have the fortitude, and sometimes you don't have to fight a war the same way that Donald Trump expects it to be fought. However, we do have a very serious problem with brain rot with these people. I don't know what we're going to do with them. But there will probably be new laws created around just learning how to function with them.
Well, they will try and show up to the inaugural, if there is, and because remember, the inauguration is going to be different under COVID.
I don't think he's going to have a huge thing like that, and I don't think
that's what I'm thinking. But if this were normal times and there was an inaugural parade, Trump's people would be thinking that they would show up with their guns, and they would be sadly mistaken about how they would be tackled down to the ground and arrested, because you're not going to show up to an inaugural parade with the president being present.
I don't think it's going to be that kind of a situation anyway.
It's not.
I think
but they would think that they would be able to do that, but we've had too many presidents. Because remember, and the reason I say that goes back to this edition, because remember what Trump said. What if inauguration, somebody shoots Joe Biden. Remember when he said that
Yeah,
at
he
one of
did.
his rallies?
But you know what? I'm a firm believer that he talks so much about it. You know, he's manifesting all of this stuff himself for himself. It's
Hmm.
that is, let him have that karma because that's who he is.
All right. Well, we spent a little bit over an hour catching up on things politically, but is the real story this?
Yeah. Well,
America and COVID.
that unfortunately has been made political. First of all, I'd like to say that um I have seen some of Trump supporters, and I don't understand why they are anti-mask. Some of these people need to be wearing masks just for the sake of aesthetics, and I think it's a good look for a lot of people. I enjoy wearing my mask on some days that I don't feel like wearing makeup if I have to go out. It's a good look. And I have to say this, though. It boggles the mind that we are now almost at 2,000 people dying per day. 2,000 people dying per day. We went from 10 million to 11 million people contracting COVID in 6 days. And if you want your legacy to be that you beat COVID and you want warp speed to be successful and you want that to be your legacy, then do something. Do the transition. Do something. It's like I really don't understand this reluctance to not shut down because we've painted ourselves in a corner to the point that that is really our only option. I don't understand it. There has to be federal action at this point because gubernatorial action per state on a state by state basis it's obviously not working because you have some governors that refuse to do anything, like the governor
Naomi, Wisconsin.
yeah,
Where is she? In South
South
Dakota.
Dakota.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she just refuses to do anything. Meanwhile, her people are dying, and she doesn't have a whole lot of people in her state for her to be acting like this. She has the highest death rate in
Because
the
it's
world,
killing
not the
people
country, the world.
but it is killing people of
Indigenous
color.
descent. Yeah.
And so it is killing people of color. And they tend to live incredibly far from the hospitals. It's very rural and don't have access. So she's a murderess. She is a murderer. And that whole BS she's talking about, this freedom stuff. I mean, this is too much. That's a cold
So
piece. And she's proof that not every woman should be a leader.
Galen is saying here, COVID has become the issue that it has in America and around the world because of lack of leadership. Until America leads again, the world will continue to struggle.
I
I
don't
gotta
know if
say
the whole
this.
world is going to struggle from it. I think Japan has been doing phenomenal. There was a business they didn't have COVID there. There people have their own individuality. But they also respect their rights and somebody else's, and they wear masks. So at this convention, they kept their distance, and they don't have what we have. I know that at least the countries were in anticipation of knowing that the fall was going to bring them spikes. France saw it coming, Germany saw it coming, Spain saw it coming. The worst part of it all is when our idiots filter over into other countries. And I got to say that you will find later from Europeans that they'll be highly resistant to what goes on in America and American values. I mean, the American white woman trope. Wait, the American white woman, that whole shit is gone. I know they just destroyed themselves in a second. In movies now going forward, and however that's portrayed in foreign films, it's going to be very interesting to see. We always saw the dumb Texan, but now we're going to see the dumb bimbo who is 55% representational of Donald Trump. So they have changed the face of themselves on a map. We're already seeing it in fashion magazines. Are if they're hiring women or people, they're not American. Nobody wants to deal with it. Magazines from Denmark, Sweden, they don't want it at all. It's an energy. You can just feel it when it comes in the room, if you're anywhere. And, I've lived in both places and, silently, laugh about people behind their backs. And for Black people who live here, people feel incredibly heartfelt and so sorry that Black people have to live here. So it's really bad.
Yeah.
Black. Go ahead.
Not New Zealand, Southern Australia had a COVID outbreak. 22 people.
Melbourne did some amazing stuff.
Yeah, 22 people tested positive for COVID. That's it. They are on lockdown. They're on lockdown for 2 weeks.
I get it that it's hard. I had a fan who was stuck in Melbourne, and she was constantly emailing like, this is terrible. They're taking our rights away. And, and I read that a few people, believe this or not, this is what they're all getting. They are going on to Parler to scare the hell out of each other. Somebody came back and said, the vaccine, it's made of baby lungs, Caucasian baby lungs, Caucasian boys. That's what they're doing. Another one said, I don't know, should I really believe the Democrats? Because I was told that they're trying this new, that they're going to take away cars and planes and we won't be able to travel anymore. This is where they're going to go. But this has to be curbed, people. We're really talking about really psychobabble and allowing it to just go on. And there's children who live with these people. There's kids that I think it's child abuse to have to suffer through a parent who's a Trump supporter, because their minds are rotten. They're gone. They're racist. They're bigots. They're aggressive. We will hear. I don't know. We're going to hear one day what it's
Dr.
like.
Vod.
Awful.
Dr. Vod.
Yes.
Can I say something controversial?
You haven't before?
I'm going to say this. And if you know me, you'll understand. If you don't know me, you'll understand. If you are a woke white person, you'll get it. If you're not, you'll hate me, and we can go on. White people in America have too much freedom. Way too much freedom. Because
they didn't think the rules applied to them.
They don't know how to be told no. They don't know how to accept being told no. You can't do something. Because here's the thing. They're like, well, you're impending on my freedom. You're impending on my freedom. Here's the thing. The Constitution says I have the freedom to do this. Actually, the Constitution tells you everything that you cannot do. The Constitution isn't about your freedoms. If you go and you read the Constitution, basically the Constitution says what you cannot do in this country. It might say you have the right to do such and such. Basically, it's telling you you can do this, but that's it.
But here's the craziest thing, Aisha, and you're absolutely right. Of the women who've been complaining the most about quarantine, like the woman who was emailing me and stuff, she's like, I have 6 children and and I'm like, you also have a housekeeper. You also, I don't know what to do with them. And I found through quarantine that there were a lot of mothers who realized they weren't mother material. And I'm not saying, and they were the ones who had help. I'm not talking, I was like, the women who were pulling it and holding it down were the mothers that are working with very little. They got pods together, they found solutions. But these Orange County women out here who have maids and housekeepers and nannies to pick up their kids were the ones screaming the most because they couldn't go get their manicures, or they had to sit at home with Tommy or Jordan and Skylar or whatever the hell their names, you know what I'm saying. And they have to learn from school. Spend time with your kids. This was an opportunity. Granted, it wasn't the best case scenario, but your kids can feel your agitation when you don't like being around them. I get it. They can feel it. So I'm saying there's going to be a lot of books coming out, like, about this years later, about what that was like for children to experience. But people like to have their kids and handle them these days like little accoutrements, little things, and they have to suffer through 6 months. The shutdown for us wasn't even like what, a couple of months, and they screamed and squelched, and then they let them walk around without masks on. And I was like, are they deliberately trying to kill their kids? Because I'm starting to think you're just a bad parent. You want your kids to die, and you don't really give a damn. It's not about your freedom at all. You're just reckless, impulsive, and I mean, that's crazy. I don't even care if it was a made up illness. My kid would still be walking with a scarf, anything on. I don't care, or we wouldn't go outside.
But see, Black and Indigenous people of color know what it's like to not be completely free.
Yes.
We know this. We know this. We know there are certain places we can't go and not be followed. We know that fear of driving and seeing a police car in our vicinity.
Mm-hmm.
We know that fear of just the fear of being the only one like us in a room.
Right.
And Jill talked about how sometimes people will say things in her presence, not knowing that she's a Black woman. So we have these things that we experience all the time. So we know not being completely free. White people do not know the feeling of oppression. And so when someone tells them something that they have to do, that it's a law, their whole thing is, I have to see the rule. Where's the rule? I have to see it. I need to know.
I know.
And then they see it. Well, that doesn't mean me.
It's
Because
just it's just lack of respect for other human beings,
Yeah.
and it's also, it all seems so insincere. Then you pop on Instagram and you see a few of them trying to market about free the kids in Libya or, Tibet or whatever. And then you can't even make, and then you look at this. This year has been about truly facing your BS and your hypocrisy.
But see,
All
this is
right.
the same thing though. Those are people who can't accept being quote unquote oppressed, who think that a mask is oppression.
Yeah, I
But
mean, COVID is
that a
sadly
mask,
taking
they think
over.
that a mask is oppression, and they have to see it in writing in order to believe that it's true. But will then go into Parlor, like you said, and someone will just tell them that
Disinformation campaigns get them all the
right,
time.
just tell them that they
Yeah.
use baby heads to make the vaccine. No proof
Bless you.
whatsoever, and they'll believe it.
That's
Okay.
it.
So we have here, Aisha's correct, but 45 is not releasing federal funds to the
No.
states, and McConnell's refusing to meet Nancy Pelosi halfway on stimulus. So our
He
last
won't have a choice. He won't have a choice though on the stimulus if those 2 Georgia seats are won by Democrats.
Okay.
Because Chuck Schumer will then be.
The last conversation, Tomic, we have tonight, we're going to, I think, end on a little bit of maybe a brighter note. Barack Obama has a new book.
Yes, The Promised Land.
So, ladies, what are your thoughts about Barack Obama's new book?
Well, I think it's about time. I've read his other books. His other books are very interesting. It's like his first book, his first memoir, I really enjoyed because he was very honest. I don't know then that he had the dream or desire or
Bless you.
even bless you, the dream, desire, or belief that he was even going into the political life to become president eventually. This is like when he became state senator and was looking at becoming a U.S. senator. And he told that early part of his life about his mother, his, one of my favorite stories from The Audacity of Hope was when he talked about going to the barbershop for the first time in Chicago. And the barber told him, "Oh, you're new here. You're new in town, in the neighborhood." And he's like, "Yeah." And the barber said, "Oh, good. Start coming here, regularly, because you can't be looking raggedy like that." And that was one of my favorite stories from that book. So Barack can tell a story. This book is now about his years at the White House. And he's very honest in this book. I've read excerpts from it. I'm actually going to buy it. But he talks about the birtherism stuff. And he's very candid and honest about how just the virtue of him being Black and being president really brought out all the closet bigots. You know what I mean? It's almost like this this outwardly bigotry and racism kind of became embarrassing in the 80s and 90s. And so people went into their closets and in their holes to do it, because it was like not the look, but there was something about him becoming president. I like to say that these are the people who are alive, are people, and I've heard it in my lifetime. I'm sure you all have heard it in your lifetime, that there will never be a Black president in your lifetime. People have said that. People have said that, and people believed it. They really believed it. Especially white people believed it, because Black people, you can have a PhD, you can have this and this and this, and you could be anything except president. Well, white people knew that they could have one tooth hanging in their mouth, barefoot, no running water in their house, but you could still be president. And so there's that kind of thing. So he talks about those things. He talks about family and raising his daughters in the White House. And tonight on MSNBC, actually at 10 o'clock, Jonathan Capehart does this interview with Barack Obama about the book. That's going to be interesting to watch. So yeah, I think that him reflecting on that time period is something that I think we really need, because Barack Obama talks about his time in the White House. He doesn't get as candid about it as he does in these pages, and he gets very candid about Donald Trump.
It's 768 pages, so
yeah.
he definitely has a lot to say. I feel, I really want to read it as well. Guys know how I feel about Barack Obama and how I feel about, I know that some people are upset because he said something apparently about rap music. It probably is right on my beaten path about how I feel about a lot of that. I mean, we grew up in an era where people actually played instruments and created things and made things. It's just a different way of adjusting who you're calling talent. I didn't know it took 25 people to write one song. Sorry. That's my little dig about rap music. I mean, it's entertaining and it's fun for the long haul, but I can't ever imagine, some of the old school rap, but the new rap, no.
You can like hip hop and criticize it. It's
I like hip hop. It's my, that's fine.
But you can like it and criticize it.
Right. But I know that he mentioned at some point that he was made homophobic slurs and whatever. Yep. There's different things that as we evolve, but see, I don't think that the popular people or people who it's like we live in an era that the more information you give, people just turn it back around on you. I mean, let's be honest, but nobody's ever turned stuff around on Donald Trump where they said he was so awful to his father, who when he had dementia. I mean, like they said, and I can actually see he was probably horrible. But, this is the interesting thing. You have somebody who addresses all their faults, who is revealing, open, honest. But this says a lot about the division in the world. This is not just, we all say, oh, we're so divided. We are divided because there is a different awakening happening just on a consciousness level. And I'm sorry, ain't everybody going to get to go. It's
Right.
just the way it is. It's been written. It's in a books. It's just how you think. There are people who are here, and then there are people who are here. And these people want all these solid reassurances. Well, solid for, gosh, it really shows how degrading the white community has become within themselves. I mean, this is what they elevate to a Donald Trump. What is your household like? Yuck. I mean, like, this is what you find as aspirational. Looking at Barack Obama is a beautiful thing for me because within it all, I know that in our Black range of family and everybody, we all still have some beauty of hierarchy, even our little traditions of respecting our elders. Those things still have stood the test of time. But this pump and fake faux crap of fake gold toilets and fake all of that people find the glistening in their eyes. I mean, that's crazy. We have old things that are old tenants that you'll see, still in Beyonce will do it. And wow, that's still that's a Black community cultural thing. White people, there's nothing. It's all over the place except greed. And I identify myself by how much I have. And if I can't identify, Italian or this or that, but it always comes down to, I mean, and yeah, we've moved into some of those eras with our rich celebrity Blacks in our thing. But for Barack Obama to be so open, I think in this day and age where people are being, such liars, it's refreshing, but I don't think everybody's going to be open to hearing it because they still want to talk about the 25,000 bombs that he dropped. I'm like, hello, do you know how many bombs we've dropped in places in Vietnam that still are landmines that you can't walk in certain areas? Get over it. I'm just so sick of it. For me, there is a stupidity quotient here. And the more that, the media has a serious responsibility, guys, the media has got to level up because they have done America a real disservice. Script writers who are writing projects, people who are giving green lights to films, you've done a disservice. You cashed out your country. And there's nothing in it. I mean, everybody was just me, 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 me. I do it for me, me, me. There's a price we paid for that. I mean, honestly, the sitcoms, all of that has been injected into the brains of Americans, and they actually see themselves as the girl on Scandal or all of it. They see themselves. They have to be very, very careful because, I hate to keep saying Russia, but Alexander Dugin, he said, and I keep saying, y'all need to read up on him because he said we will destroy democracy. And all it takes would be to turn everybody on each other. And he was right.
The thing about this book, I think that if you start at this book, you need to go back and read his other books too.
Which are fabulous. They're beautiful.
They are. You get the whole spectrum of him. And this is one of the things that perplexes me about his whole 8 years being so difficult and how white people received him. Because remember, when he first came out, his story was that he was a Black child being raised by a white mother, white grandparents. He tells the story of being raised in Hawaii by white people and how his grandmother told him that, oftentimes she was afraid she'd see a Black male who looked like him, his height and stuff, and she would clench her purse out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And then for her to tell him that, how did that make him feel, and but there he was. And then the fact that he has this sister who's also a minority, but not the same minority as he is. His sister's half Indonesian. And so it's like that's got to be an interesting kind of thing too. But
I don't think we understand how people operate in this game. I have a friend who there were twin boys. One is the color of Dr. Vibe, and the other one is even whiter than me. And the father was Black, and the mother was from like she's white, and they would go to the sporting matches and not identify themselves because I think one of them got a scholarship somewhere. It just things like that of how this has been going on for ages, for a very long time in America. It's so color struck with itself. And you're right, Barack Obama, when he shared all of that, all it did was spin people around to come back, because we haven't really heard the stories of these people raising their kids. These Trump supporting people are walking around talking about getting rid of ballots, mind you, and they have mixed grandkids sitting at the table. I mean, I told you about the one friend of mine whose grandmother actually put her Black grandchildren's pictures in the basement and introduced them as friends of the family.
Yeah.
So this happens. Yeah. So the fact that he seemed to have a loving situation, and then they wanted to talk about his dad, and then, but did he talk about his crazy ass brother in Kenya?
Yeah, he does. He talks about his family there.
That's just jealousy. That man is
also,
jealous.
Remember that.
Like
remember, oh gosh, Jeezy did a song called "My President's Black." And Jay-Z had a verse that says, "My president's black. In fact, he's half white. And so in a racist's mind, he's half right." And yeah, that's the line. And so, but it didn't manifest that way. They just saw the skin color. That was it, enough to break it up. But I've always wondered how Barack felt, because the night before the election, his grandmother died.
I know.
And so I always felt like she already knew he was going to win. That was like she already's like, my work here is done. My work was to see him to this moment, and he's done. But I think that you really have to get the full experience by reading all 3 books. And this one, I'm going to be excited to read all of it, because I really want to see how he talks about democracy. He talks about democracy as an active word, not just a noun, as it being a thing. I think most people talk about democracy as just something that we have, but he talks about being democratic and what goes into that, and being part of a democratic society. It does mean that you vote. It does mean that you're an active participant. Advocacy is not something, you don't have to be a community organizer in order to be an advocate for something. Everybody has their own talent, their own skills. So you have to put your advocacy into something like that. For example, I write. That's my advocacy. I'm good on social media. That's how I do my advocacy. I'm good at calling people. That's how I do my advocacy. So everybody's different in terms of how they do these things. And there is no right or wrong way to get the word out there about doing good. It's about doing the greater good, though, not the self good. And you get to see he is just genuinely a decent person.
He's a good person.
He's a good person. And you realize that all these people poured a lot of good into him, and that he took, and that just not just from his family, but from mentors and professors, and even down to his wife and his children. He takes the good from everybody he comes in contact with, and he grows. He's constantly growing.
That's not going to happen everywhere. It doesn't even happen for white people. I mean, there's something that some people just are born under a magic star, and they just have star personality.
Yeah.
That was also a part of it, because I do believe that the people who wanted to vote for him were just felt his passion. And it wasn't just that, it was from that night he gave the speech. Everybody went, and that's called, that charisma was like, who is this? There was something so beguiling about him that made you want to be a better person. He was the reflection of a young America saying, wow, could we really do this? And it brought people together. But what tore it apart were people like the Koch brothers, and those people, money tore it apart. Yeah. And unfortunately, that's where we are today.
And people couldn't really see or understand the rock star part of it. It's like he literally, Bill Clinton was admired and people loved Bill Clinton, but Barack Obama was really the first rock star politician.
He
He was
was, but he
bringing
made you
in,
feel like he could do it, and he was
yeah,
bringing new ideas. I think the scariest part the road that we've gone down is that we don't need to have rock stars anymore. But what's
right,
frightening is that racism is not just in America. Our Putin didn't like our president Obama because he was black. I mean, it did
yeah,
exist in different elements, and you still persevere. These stories are very important that he translates them, because people, we will be dealing with this for decades and decades. And you go
right,
places and, you know, you go to South Africa and you're a Kaffir, and then you're this, and then they are colored, and all these things that still exists. You know, it's a mind-blowing trip. But we have to try to be aspirational again. But this time we've got to fight for our rights, because we've been a little passive, and and black folks at this point keep thinking they have the luxury to keep putting each other down. And we don't. We need the solidarity, and we need to stand together at all costs. And if we have problems with each other, call each other up privately and do it. Just,
yeah,
you know, really, like that
yeah,
guy you got thrown off of Joy Reid's thing. He went on Joy Reid show, and he didn't even know what he was, ill prepared, and
yeah, he
just, you
was.
know, it was just ridiculous. Those kind of things are shameful, money grabs, power grabs. And those people do exist in our communities. They always have. I won't say what my grandparents used to call them, but we know what they are. But we still have to reach out and educate our young people, because they can't be taught by trap singers. I'm sorry. They just can't.
Yeah, we are going to have to do something. I think about our young people, and one of the things that we do have to do is start reclaiming our art. That's one of the things that we do. The mechanisms that through which we transmit our messaging to young people, that those are our art, our mediums. We have
Well,
to
we have
start
to get
reclaiming
into
those.
the positions in roles where we're actually
Yeah,
changing how things are being distributed. Because
yeah,
if you're distributing garbage and you're green lighting garbage to keep old tropes going, you're not really changing much in the world. You know,
exactly.
everybody was going on about Detroit yesterday. I heard Stephen Colbert go, not Motown. And for me, you know, I was like, yeah,
Well,
not Motown. You actually are trying to screw us over with this voting thing, Trump. I'll be damned if you will.
yeah,
Hello? No, you won't. That's Motown, you
yeah,
know? And I really love that, because that I went, wow, Barry Gordy did that. But that's why the white people did what they did. They hear Detroit and they're like, oh, they voted him in? Oh no, we're going to get rid of their vote. This is really simple. They don't want us to vote. And if you let them do this, the next things will get worse. It's bad enough that everybody's been killed in the street. Step by step, he's eroding things. Step
yeah,
by step, he's making a move, and it becomes normalized. You
yep.
get, you know, everybody be sitting back up in chains, and I'll be living in Europe. So it's like, see you later. Man.
We'd rather have you in Canada than Europe, but I know Europe's a better place for you, so that's all right.
I like Canada. I would
All right.
definitely go. You guys have some stringent little rules up there.
Yeah, well, at least well, I'm not gonna go there. I was gonna say, but I'll keep off on it. No problem. I'll behave. I'll behave. Ladies, you did it again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful conversation as usual. Oh, here's Christy. Christy White has two last comments from the audience here. Black Beauty says, ladies, what you describe is white man's ticket of entitlement, thus 45.
Yep.
And Christy, thank you for jumping on. This is the first time you've been with us. And again, she was on a panel that I hosted today about gender. I can't remember what it was called, Christy. Maybe you can put in the title. There was so many conversations I was part of today, but it says giving children positive literature that they can relate to all the way around makes a huge difference.
So true. Very true.
Christy, I think maybe one day, Christy, we would love to have you on here. You're a wonderful representative of the Indigenous community, so we'd love you to come on. If And she says, thank you very much, all. Yes, Christy, if you know how to get a hold of me. If you don't, you know that Savannah can get a hold of me through you, and we would love to have you on. Ladies, another epic conversation as usual. Well done as usual. And as we do as always, Aisha K. Staggers, how can people get a hold of you?
You can find me on Twitter. I actually had full use of my Twitter again. Again. It's at capital AISHA, capital STAGGERS. And I'm also now ordained where I can give wedding services and funerals. If you ever want a beautiful service, let me know.
Nice. Jill Jones.
You can find me right where it says at Jill D. Jones on Twitter, or you could find me on my Facebook music page, Jill Jones Music. And I'm on Instagram, same thing, Jill Jones Music.
Wonderful. I am Dr. Vibe, and you can find me. The best place is my website, which is right there on the screen. We have and Christy says, I would love to. Wonderful. So Christy,
yes,
please get in touch with me, or if you go on LinkedIn, if you're on LinkedIn, or email me, or go to my website. At the top of my website page, it says contact the Dr. Vibe Show. Let's make it happen. We would love to have you. As I had said, I am Dr. Vibe, the host and producer of the 2-time Canadian Ethnic Media Association winner, and also host monthly conversations for fathers and for dads that are co-sponsored by Dad Central and Dove Men Care. I'd like to thank everyone who jumped in tonight. Christy, Black Beauty, Galen, others watching live on the replay and listening on the replay. Much appreciated. Deborah Jackson, thank you for jumping in. As always, I end off with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Also, sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Oh, another comment in here. Deborah Jackman, great conversation, ladies. So thank you, folks. Wonderful. Hey, follow all of us. Please follow all of us on whatever social media platform. We do this almost every week. So we would like to have you follow us. And if some of you want to come on with the ladies, get ready. You know what you're in for. So hope you're locked and loaded, as one of my friends would say when they come on. I'd like to say, God bless, peace to all, keep the faith, walk good, and most importantly, give yourself grace. Good night, everybody.